introduction down. I was very, very young when for me, I mean, I was 21 when my relationship with Bill began. I'd already been playing, was in school, I'd been through Juilliard, did a lot of orchestral playing, did a lot of, all kinds of playing. From free playing, so-called, aleatory, or whatever. A lot of different kinds of playing, big bands, all. But in my heart of hearts, I really loved small group, small ensemble, jazz, certain kind of like I loved Miles's bands and Art Blakey's bands. I love Count Basie's band, which is not a small group, but I like that feel. And I love Bill's trio, Bill Evans's trio, and a lot of things like that. I never dreamt that I would ever have a chance to do anything like that. I mean, I guess I dreamt about it, but I didn't think that that was just gonna happen. I didn't know how that worked. I didn't know how one got there. But I just kept playing. When I met Bill, I was 21, and I traveled with. He asked me to do a tour with him for a couple of weeks and see how it would go. And after a few weeks, it went pretty well. He said, "Gee, I'd love for you to do the trio." And I said, "Okay." Well, wow, I was thrilled. Couldn't believe it. So at that point, I realized that I had a long way to go to get to where I would feel comfortable and would be able to really feel like I was contributing to the trio in any real musical fundamental way. Bill was very supportive throughout. He's one of those musicians that was very supportive, and meaning that he would yell out, "Yeah," you know, and sort of encourage you, and he wouldn't say. His attitude was, "Give it all you got, go for it, and if you screw up, well, it's better to have screwed up than not to have done anything at all, or just go for it." And another player told me that was Jim Hall, because I'd worked with him before too, and he said the same, because I was kind of shy and timid, and I said, "Just go for it, just leave all that, just play, go and play." It's great advice, but when you're in the thick of it, it's very hard to, it's easier said than done. But Bill was very supportive. I stayed with him for 11 years, and it was really a growing thing for me. During that time, I did other things, and that was good too, because it gave me perspective on the trio. I got to play with some great players and incredible, some of my heroes. So it wasn't like I was just doing only the trio. I was doing other things too, but the trio was my main life force and musical life force. And we didn't rehearse a lot. We recorded a lot, and some of those records I have trouble listening to because I never felt prepared because we didn't rehearse so much. For recordings, we would rehearse some, but not really extensively. But there was an awful lot of playing and traveling and touring, and that was great. It was just a lot of performing in the United States back then, in the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. There were so many clubs you could just play ad infinitum. And in Europe, Japan, it was just a lot of places to play in front of people. 2-3 sets a night. Weeks and weeks. Play 2 weeks in Los Angeles, a couple of weeks in Seattle, maybe 2 or 3 weeks in San Francisco. Boston, come up here, played the Jazz Workshop back then. Lenny's on the Turnpike. Probably most of you don't remember those places. There were a here, Philadelphia, Washington, Atlanta. It was just that there was a lot of places to play, and there were a lot of bands traveling. There were real bands, and that's one of the reasons I think the music had that feel and that sound. There was a lot of continuity and room for development. But if you want to ask me something more specific about Bill Evans, go ahead.
I mean, well, just after you play with Bill Evans, what is it like to play with other pianists? And
Oh, right, you did mention that, yeah. Well, I try not to, compare, what I don't like is playing with a pianist that tries to actually, play in that style, like really tries to imitate. I think on any instrument, you just don't want to hear someone being kind of like a clone. And certainly with me and my relationship with Bill, I find it uncomfortable. I don't like it. But I've had the good fortune of playing with so many great pianists that they have their own voice. So that's what it's all about. Play with all these other people that are. I don't compare. It's a thrill to play with Hank Jones when played quite a bit, recorded with Hank, and it was great to play with him. I never thought about Bill. It was just two different approaches, or McCoy Tyner, or whatever, or Chick Corea. They're all quite different, and that's great. That's what makes this all so much fun. There is room for our identities. I spent a lot of time, and the thing, in a way, I'm glad that I did these other things afterwards, because I love being identified with Bill's trio. That's wonderful. I'm proud of that very much, and I carry that sentiment with me all the time. But I'm also very proud of what I've done after that too, and I feel that I think it's important to have this. It's like an actor or something. You got to have a kind of a body, different roles. I like funk. I like a lot of different kinds of music. I really do. It may be a curse. I don't know, but I really do like anything that just really touches me, makes me feel something. I like it. So Bill's music certainly is like that, very expressive and deeply emotional for me. As other players, on Miles' music and Coltrane's music, and many other music. There's just a lot of stuff out there. But if it touches you, then the list sort of thins out a bit for me. But it could be crossover into rhythm and blues, or it could be a lot of different things. It could be an opera, an aria, Puccini opera. It just could be a lot of different things. So I don't compare. I don't compare pianists or genres. I let it either move me or not. And if it moves me, I want more. Could be anything. It could be Black Eyed Peas or Doobie Brothers, or I don't know, Rosemary Clooney. I don't know, Nat King Cole. It's all good. There's a question.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What would you say was your favorite tune to play with the trio during your time with Bill Evans?
Oh, hard to say.
Or if you had to choose, like, maybe
I
top
like,
three.
If there was, I always liked Ari Person I Knew. And I always, there's so many that I really, that Bill played that were just so beautiful. He would play, I'll just name some tunes that I remember that when I would listen to him